say hi?
Yeah, we're rolling.
We're rolling.
Yeah.
Hi.
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 What up? We're back,
Yeah.
like always.
Always back.
I got nothing.
I don't think we have
That was just a
anything.
really good episode, so let's get into it.
It's the episode. I think that at one point I was like, oh, this is the episode where at the end we were all like, oh, what is this story about?
I couldn't remember if it was 9 or 10 that happened in.
I knew it was not the season finale. It was the penultimate episode. So I knew that it was the one going into it, but I also forget how it just kind of bangs you over the head.
Hard.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a really good episode.
Yeah.
Like everything that's going on is
So,
awesome.
So
Good
for
scenes.
those of you that obviously didn't read what episode this is, it's season 1, episode 9, Baelor.
Lord Baelor?
No,
Or
Baelor.
Just Baelor.
Just Baelor.
And also, just not that you don't already know, but spoiler alert. This whole fucking show.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
I thought that the term rewatch would
kind of cover that.
Yeah, and I also feel like, you know, in the beginning of every episode, it's pretty clear that like you have to be familiar with the episode or the show to like know what we're talking about.
Yeah, the show is not for noobs.
Mm-hmm,
Don't come at this new, because we're gonna be watching the first season, talking about season 6 or 5, or this guy died, or damn, it's crazy when this dude dies. Seeing how he's doing this now, that's this show.
Is always someone on social media was like, well, I just think you should clarify it, because you know everyone has an opinion on everything, but
it's super clarified.
Yeah, so
don't
spoilers
fuck yourself.
Always, forever.
If you haven't watched GOT yet, A, you've been blowing it.
Yeah.
And B,
you blew it.
This is not your pod.
Yeah, not at all. So
onward
and upwards.
Episode 9, season 1.
Yes. So we start with the black cells. Getting better with that word.
Got it.
Ned, he is being visited by, of course, Varys again. Varys says to him, "You've seen better days, my lord," and Ned says, "It seems like you're my last friend." Varys tells him how Sansa begged for mercy.
Yeah, even though it's like that was all set up, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
it was definitely all set up. Well, that was the thing; it was coached, but it's all a show for them to be able to save Ned for the people.
Yeah.
So the people aren't like, well, why are you saving him? Why don't you just kill him? It's like, oh well, you know, Sansa begged for mercy. And da 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 da. So Varys says, well, before they cut my balls off with a hot knife, he just kind of comes at that sentence.
It's like, well, when I was a little boy, because like, Ned, you know, Ned.
Eddard.
He's just tired. He's tired of his like, Varys,
yeah.
Varys knows that he's tired of his like, weird wording and like little, you know, I'm gonna say this in like a roundabout way. He's like, okay, when I was a little kid, before they cut my nuts off with a hot knife, it's just like, I'm gonna give this to you straight.
Yeah.
There's no tricks. There's no clever words.
Yeah, exactly.
Which he asked for later. He's like, no riddles.
Yeah.
I really like their conversation.
I did too. I think it's a very honest conversation. Yeah. Well, as honest as you can be.
I think both of them have the point where they're like really take it and they're like, oh, I don't have anything to say to that like right now. I think that comes from both sides.
Yeah. Varys says that each man. So he says that before he had his balls cut off in the free cities, they were walking through and he just like observed and just realized that every person has a part to play.
Well, he traveled with actors.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was saying that. Yeah. Thank you. He said that that everyone to make the show go on has a part to play, and it's the same thing with the realm. And he says each man has a role to play, and his role is the master of whispers. He's like, I'm a good actor, and he said, you know, Ned's like, could you free me? And Varys says, I could free you, but will I? No.
Again, I'm no hero.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't do heroic things that could get me killed.
Yeah, I'm here to serve the realm. That's always what it's been about. And sometimes as that, with that goal in mind, you have to stand aside and let things happen that may not be morally proper.
Yeah.
So Ned asks Varys, he's tired. He's just over. He says, what do you want? What do you want?
Yeah, no tricks, no riddles.
Yeah. And Varys says peace. And Varys says, do you know that your son is marching south? And of course, Ned obviously doesn't know that. It's not like he's in the know of things.
Yeah.
Or would happen to overhear anyone talking about that.
He's like, he's just a boy.
Yeah. And Varys says he's a loyal lad, and he says he fights for his father's freedom. And they start talking about Lord Stannis, and Ned's like, as he always has said, Stannis has the best claim for the throne.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said not only that, but he's also has been in battle. He's led wars and stuff like that. You know, he's the best man for the job overall, but he's also the one with the rightful claim. And Ned says it's his rights, and Varys, of course, tries to bring it back around for Ned, just turn the ship back around, and he says, Sansa pled so sweetly for your life, it would be a shame to throw it away. And Varys says, Cersei's not a fool, she knows she can't kill you.
Yeah. She says a tame wolf is better for her than a dead wolf.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of... Sometimes it's like, even I have a pretty good speed accuracy thing.
Well, it's just a lot going
wise,
on.
But there's and then like you're trying to like give some dialogue and also set up the scene.
Yeah, so. the way that we do this podcast, well, you do that.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, it could be much more challenging on some episodes than others.
Yeah.
There's a lot more action. You're like, people are getting fucking killed.
Yeah.
And then there's like other words so fucking wordy, and you're like trying to get all the
everything.
points, get some actual things they say.
Because the lines are cool. So
yeah, so like while I'm watching the episode, this is what I hear beside me. Her just typing away.
Luckily, I can type without looking. So anyway, thank you for filling in the points that I'm like, I don't know why I wrote that.
No, it's okay. I'm here to help.
So Varys is obviously trying to convince Ned to just confess because Cersei is going to try to do something to, save his life. And basically the plan they've come up with is let Ned confess and then live his life out on the wall.
With Jon,
which is the better
honestly
plan.
Wouldn't be that bad if you like had your boy and like, well, not his boy, but kind of his boy.
It's his boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it is, just since
the problem
he
is
did
that,
physically raise him.
Yeah, the problem would be is that, Robb at that point would then become Lord of Winterfell. Well, I guess, I don't know if Catelyn. Yeah, I guess Robb would become
it. Would be Robb. Because it would be like he was
Catelyn,
dead.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be the exact same.
I was going to say, I don't know what
dead.
she would become, but I
She would just become like the lady of the house, right?
Yeah,
like she's like the older queen.
Yeah, I don't even know if she would stay there though, but I don't know. Who cares? She might go back to her place. But I guess her brother has that, so whatever. Anyway, Robb would become Lord of Winterfell, but he would also, it would be good for Ned because he would live his days out on the wall and they could keep the peace in the realm. But Robb would probably always have this animosity with Joffrey.
Oh, for sure.
And that's not a good thing. And I
it's
think
like,
it would just always be this weird tension. So for Ned, it's like, well, that does sound good, but I don't think that does sound good.
And it would eat his ass up inside for the rest of his life.
Oh, because Ned's that man.
He's just that guy.
Well, I mean, we go on. It's talked about later. But anyway, Ned says that he'd rather die than give in. He said, that's the thing. I grew up with soldiers and I learned to die a long time ago. And Varys said, pity, such a pity.
Well, at first, he doesn't really have anything to say to that. He's like, you grew up with actors. You're a good actor. He's like, I grew up with soldiers. I learned how to die a long time ago. He's like, grew up with these hard-ass dudes. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I'm ready for this shit. I've been ready for it. And he's like, well, shit. I mean, if you... what else do you have to I don't know how to word what I'm trying to say here, but like if the guy, if he's not worried about his own life, there's not really anything else you can pull.
Yeah, I mean, Varys tries one last thing. He says, what about Sansa's life?
And then he's like, well, what about your daughters?
Yeah. Which is a good thought, which obviously is what brings Ned around at the end, even though he gets fucked.
A little bit.
So we see a raven go flying from the twins. Theon shoots it down before it gets too far, though. He pulls the letter from the foot of the raven, and it's just a birthday message to Walder Frey's grandniece. But Catelyn says we need to keep shooting down the birds because they may...
That could have been like a code, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's what he's saying. That's what they want you to think.
Yeah,
and also he's just like, keep shooting them down. It's like, not like, try to keep getting them if you can. It's just like, keep definitely fucking these birds up.
Yeah, that's why you give Theon.
Yeah, that
give
definitely
Theon
shows
that
you
job.
that Theon's a badass. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll 100% take care of that, no problem.
Yeah, I got that. That's
Fucking these birds up all day. He's like super nice with the bow.
Oh, he is. I really hate Theon with his personality in this part, but like seeing his good qualities, and then when you see him later, it's like I really want the series to end with Theon being Theon.
Yeah,
again.
you kind of want the best of both Theons. You want the good-hearted Theon from later, but then you want him to still have his dick and balls and be nice.
Yeah.
Like fucking people up.
FYI, we talked about it earlier. I refreshed my mind. In the book, it's implied that it's just balls that are taken.
Okay.
But there's some hint that it could be the dick too. But it's very, very, very indefinite. It's very not definite of what it is. Well, in the show, 100 no dick, no balls.
Well, we know
the thought is that he was filleted. His dick was filleted and then just taken.
Varys still has his joint.
Yeah.
He just said he's got his balls cut off.
Yeah. So anyway, just wanted to refresh you because we talked about that.
Yeah, but Theon, I like when once you start seeing Robb kind of, people start to respect him, and he's kind of really putting this whole thing together. It's sick that Theon's like his like, you know, in a movie when there's like that lead guy and he's got his badass like side guy.
Yeah, right hand man.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Joseph Gordon-Levitt in Inception.
Oh yeah.
He's like the side guy with all the fucking slick suits and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like his side guy. He's like, oh, this is my man. He can like fuck people up with the bow. Like probably save my life from 100 yards away.
Yeah.
Like, this is my dude.
Yeah, he 100% trusts
And
Theon.
it's cool because you've got Robb, you've got his army behind him, he's got his side dude, he's got his mama there.
Yeah, I mean it's a shame how Robb's life ends because he clearly
it only goes bad because he gets fucked.
He only goes bad because of
bamboozled.
exactly what Master Aemon talks about later is that love.
Oh, for sure.
Is the killer.
All right, we're
things.
getting off.
Yeah,
we'll get to that episode.
I know, but that conversation goes for so many things because it's like it covers the Ned thing, it covers what happens to Robb.
Absolutely.
Anyway. So back to the phrase. So Catelyn says they need to keep shooting down the ravens, and she says somebody, I'm not sure who said it. Again, one of those things. Expect nothing of Water Frey, and they'll never surprise you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Theon says they should just march and try to take the twins. He's like, just go up and say, I'm taking this, or I'm walking through it because you have the right.
And then she's like, they've been holding this shit down for like 700 years.
Yeah. And she's like, and for 700 years, they've never failed to exact their toll.
Yeah. They probably have this down to a science.
Yeah. So they see some of the Frey men approaching. They're talking about whether Robb needs to, like, how they can't send Robb. She was like, if you go in, you'll never come out. You know, stuff like that.
They'll
like, you
lock
just
you up, cut your throat.
Yeah. So Catelyn decides to go. She's known Water Frey for a long time, and she doesn't think that he would try to kill her. But he is a dick.
Oh yeah, she's like, he would never harm me. A little foreshadowing there.
Yeah, exactly. So she's meeting with Water in front of the entire Frey family, and
they're all busted up looking.
They're clearly like,
because they're like 10 times incest over.
Yeah. Water's he's the worst. He tells Catelyn, he's like, oh, I guess Robb's too proud to come see me himself, or he doesn't trust me. You know, he knows everything that's up because he knows he's a shady fuck, but he's also like 90 million years old.
Yeah,
so his
he's been around
brain
the
is
block.
clearly like dying. Yeah. So he starts yelling at his children because they're all like, she's just, you know, just listen to her.
Oh, yeah, all the ones, they're like, be nice to her. And he's like, shut the fuck up.
So
your ugly ass.
Yeah,
Sit.
yeah. So he finally asks Catelyn to approach, and he kisses her hand in, like, the grossest.
It's all makes, like, a squishy sound.
Ugh.
It's like he, like, kisses and licks it and sucks it all at the same time.
It's
Barf.
like the worst, like most, like in her face.
Yeah.
So she's clearly creeped out, but she still asks to speak with him in private because she's got a thing to do.
There's a goal at hand here.
She's like, please just don't touch me again. Water finally kicks everyone out, including the young girl standing beside him, which is
his 15-year-old new thing.
Yeah, he says, she's a little flower, and he says, the honey's all mine.
And he tells her that, like, she would care in a million years.
It's like on Friends, that one episode where Rachel's like,
do you know? Yeah.
Why do people why do men keep speaking to me like that?
Exactly. It's like, you don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're talking to a bunch of fucking like dudes in a locker room, but
Yeah.
you're looking at Catelyn Stark.
Yeah, it'd be like if he came in, he'd be like, "Oh, she like that good dick,"
Yeah,
and
that
he's
good
like,
ass dick. What you think, Catelyn?
and
Yeah.
Catelyn's like, "Okay,
Yeah, that's something.
that's something."
Please don't suck kiss my hand again.
Yeah, just don't do that again. So Water asks why Catelyn's father didn't come to his
The
last
last one.
wedding,
She's like,
or the
"Oh,
one
he
before
was
that, or the
ill."
one before that. Yeah.
He's like, oh, he was sick. Yeah, but he didn't come to the other one. Silence. Or the one before that. Well, I really got nothing to say.
Yeah. So he says that that her family has always pissed on the phrase, and she's like, I'm sure my father had his reasons, and Water cuts her off and says, I don't need reasons, I need to get rid of sons and daughters. And he's like, you see how they stack
Yeah,
up?
they're just stacking up in here.
And so then he finally asks her why she's here, and she says she's there to ask him to open the gates so that her son and his bannerman could cross the Trident. And he says, why? You'll be 20,000 corpses when Tywin Lannister gets here. And she was like, you've said you are sworn to, you know, to the north, you know, to my house, or to my house.
He's like,
you
oh,
said
yes,
you were.
but I swore to the king, too. So.
Yeah, he said, I said some words, and I swore oath to the crown, too, if I remember right. And then he says, the way I see it, I sum it up that Rob's a rebel.
Yeah.
Joffrey's the new king. Rob has no you know, stake in the matter, and he's rebelling, which is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, I might as well just hand you over to the Lannisters and be done with it. And she says, well, then why don't you? And then he says, Lannister, Stark. He goes through a few different names.
He goes through all the main names.
Baratheon,
He's like, why should
yeah.
I give a shit?
And he's like, why should I waste a single thought on any of you?
Exactly.
Yeah. So then we cut to Castle Black. Lord Commander is talking to Jon. He asks him when he's able to use his hand again. And Jon says that Maester Aemon says that it should be soon.
Yeah, like a couple weeks or a week or whatever.
Yeah, so Lord Commander says good, and he's like, you'll need it for this. And he gives him a sword, which has a wolf head on it. He says it's called Longclaw, and he says, I think that works as well for a wolf and as it does for a bear.
Never had a trophy like this before. I just need to replace that little golf guy. Put a hockey guy on there. I'm gonna get a sugar-free Red Bull. We'll be right back.
Red Bull. So it's a Valyrian steel sword. Will you get me one?
You want one?
Yes, please.
You done with that?
Yes.
It used to be a bear.
Yeah, it was a bear on the top because the Mormonts are the bears.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah. I don't think they can hear what you're saying, but he asked if it.
I think they can because I'm speaking up.
If you didn't hear, he asked if it used to have a bear on the top. So he changed the pommel. Thank you.
You're
to
welcome back.
a wolf that of course looks like Ghost. It's a white wolf.
Yeah. It kind of looks like white Teen Wolf more. It's kind of weird looking, but we get it.
I quite
It's a
enjoy
wolf.
it actually. Yeah. It's Valyrian steel. I think I already said that.
Or Alter Beast. Any old heads out there when you turn into the wolf? That shit. That's what it looks like.
It also looks a little like Chewbacca.
Yeah, a little bit. Like a white albino baka.
Yeah. Albino baka. Albino baka. So he says that it's the Mormont sword. He says it was my father's sword and his father's sword before him. He said it was meant for his son Jorah.
Oh, this is not very cold. Barf.
Sorry. Do you want some ice?
Tastes like a battery.
Meh. He says that it was meant for Jorah, his son, and he said that his son had the decency of leaving it behind before he
Yeah,
hauled
because Jorah's
ass
a
out of
good dude.
Westeros. Yeah. Well, he's honorable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is that Ned's the one that is the reason that Jorah has to leave Westeros, and like he's just as honorable as Ned.
But it's like two guys in prison. It's like one killed somebody, the other dude like is like a thief.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he's a bad dude, but he's not like an awful human being.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can see that Jorah is like a good dude.
He's
Obviously, he came from a
clearly.
good house.
Yeah.
Obviously, his dad is the shit.
Yeah.
And a super good dude.
Yeah. So he says, he says that Lord Commander says, I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for you and your beast. So you're gonna take the sword.
He's like a dead guy tried to kill me.
yeah. Because John tries to he's like, oh, I'm not worthy of this, and he's like, yeah, a dead try. Just take the sword. Yeah. So he says, there'll be no more of it. Understood. Quit talking about it. And he says, now me giving you the sword doesn't mean that I approve of anything that happened between you and Thorn. And John says, well, I'll apologize to him. And Lord Commander says, nope, you won't. He's in King's Landing. Or I've sent him to King's Landing with the, that home dude's hand.
Yeah, the hand.
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's a hand. What is that supposed to do?
It's supposed to prove to them that there's White Walkers.
How? Here's a hand.
I don't know. They're just trying to persuade them to.
Yeah, but it's not like the thing's gonna like start to walk around like idle hand. Shout out Devon Sawa.
Devon Sawa, yeah.
It's like
homeboy.
That's what I mean, though. I really don't get what that's supposed to do. Here's a blue hand.
I don't know.
Looks like a.
I mean, it rots by the time it gets there, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, even more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's a reason he's gone, which is good because he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, we hate him. So it cuts to the dining hall. John walks in. Everyone wants to see his sword except for that rapey guy.
Oh, yeah, the rapey guy's all pissy because he doesn't have a new sword and people don't pay attention to him. Yeah. I guess he's really mad because he's got nothing to rape.
Yeah, I think that's the main problem. Sam looks sad or confused or conflicted. I'm not really sure.
He looks pouty.
Yeah, he's more pouty.
It looks pouty that he didn't get a new sword.
He looks pouty, and the reason why he isn't talking to John doesn't seem to work for the emoting that he's giving. So I'm not quite sure what the deal is.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he looks pouty, and John's like, "What's up? You look like you want to say something." And he's like, normally, well, I can't.
And it's his friend, so normally he's like, oh, wow, let me see your
sword.
I want to see it too and be hyped.
Yeah, and so Sam looks like he's going to say something, and then he goes, oh, I'm really not supposed to say. And it's like, well, you're going to say it.
Yeah, well, if you did that, you're halfway there.
Yeah, so John goes, but you really want to say it.
That's true.
Yeah, so Sam tells him that there's been a raven and that he read the message to Maester Aemon, and he's like, it's your brother Rob. He's headed south to war.
Whoa.
To war. And John says, I should be there. I should be with him. And we cut back to Catelyn is coming back towards the northern
back to
camp.
Rob and all the men.
Yeah, all the men. She says that Lord Water has granted your crossing. His men are your men as well, less the 400 he's keeping there to shield the castle, in case anyone tries to come across. And
do we know how many men he has altogether?
I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if they said it and I missed it.
No, no, I don't think they said it.
Okay,
I don't quite remember. She says, and Rob goes, and she says, and Arya is to marry his son Waldron.
Oh no! First one, he has to take the boy as a squire.
Oh yeah, the boy's a squire. Yeah. So
he's got to take one of his sons as a squire and eventually knight him.
And he's like, all right, done. And then Arya has to marry Waldron.
And he's like, oh well, she'll be really hyped about that.
Yeah. And then he goes.
And then like he's like, oh okay. And then she still looks like she has something to say, and he's like, oh fuck. And
she says, when the fighting's done, you will marry one of his daughters, whichever you prefer.
And he's like, did you see them?
Which Theon laughs at, because obviously.
And he's like, Mom, any of them?
And she goes, yes. And he goes, and she goes, one was. And then Theon laughs again. And then she says, do you consent? Which then made me giggle because, do you concur?
Do you concur?
She says, do you consent? He says, can I refuse? And she says, not if you want to cross. And he says, then I consent. And they cross.
Done and done.
Yeah.
You're marrying an Uggo.
Mm-hmm.
Which is unfortunate, too, because you're beautiful.
That's true. He's a pretty
It's not even like,
man.
It's like, oh, he's a pretty good-looking guy, and he's getting with this kind of whatever. It's like he's very pretty, and he's got to go with... He's plucking from the ugliest family in Westeros.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, they're all like...
Well,
have,
the
like,
one,
fins
Rosalind,
and shit.
is pretty. Rosalind? I think it's Rosalind. The one that...
oh, that's right, because that's the one they present.
Catelyn's brother marries. Yeah. Later. At the Red Wedding.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, the one that gets married at the Red Wedding. She's hot.
Got it.
Yeah. Which I guess she's the one.
It has to be.
Yeah. So we cut to Maester Aemon. He's chopping meat, which is Very interesting for a blind guy.
It's not really that weird. Have you ever heard Stevie Wonder play music?
Yeah, I understand that.
I'm
just
sure
saying
this dude, 80 fucking years of learning how to chop meat without cutting his hand. I think he can manage.
I mean, it's just like he was not the one that I was waiting for it to pan up.
I'm not saying I didn't think it too. Like I saw the hands cutting the meat, and then it was him, and I was like, oh yeah. I guess he's got nothing else to do.
Also,
so.
Stevie Wonder, and I'm not familiar. Has he been blind his whole life?
I think he's I could be fucking no. It might have been I know Ray Charles went when he was like a kid. Stevie Wonder's might have been the same. I don't know if he was born with it or if it came on when he was a kid.
Maester Aemon's like 1 million years old, and he was able to see for a very long time and then became blind. So that's a little different.
How did he go blind again?
Just old.
Just from
really old.
Oh, so he hasn't been blind.
No, not
like his whole life.
No.
Okay, I don't know why I was thinking that. Like he was just this,
well, because you only know him in this old ass.
Well, maybe I was thinking that's why he's there, because he was from such an important family, but then once all that went down, he's like, well, he's blind. Well, he's shitty. Just send him there.
He had the right. He even says it.
Yeah,
he could have taken the crown, but he.
And that's back when he could see.
Yeah, but so the whole Duncan and Egg, the graphic novels.
Yeah.
That's all.
Because when he.
That's
Yeah. Okay.
All connected to it.
Either way.
So if you want to read some prequel crap, the Duncan and Egg series, Sir Duncan the Tall, you'll hear his name throughout stuff, and then Egg is Aegon.
And when you're done with that, if you want to see a blonde guy cut some meat,
go back to the scene.
Season 1, Episode 9.
Yeah. So anyway, Maester Aemon cutting meat. I put chopping broccoli, but that's not broccoli. Hopefully someone gets that joke besides you. John is, he says that Sam sent him to see Maester Aemon.
Yeah. And
Maester Aemon says, did you ever wonder why the men at the Night's Watch take no wives and father no children? And he says, love is the death of beauty.
But John says, no.
Yeah.
And then he starts to tell him, and it's like, well, I just said no. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because I've never had any pussy.
I don't need it.
I didn't hang out with chicks when I was younger. Probably wasn't allowed to be around. Like, probably couldn't come into the parties when they had him.
He's
like,
a bastard.
Yeah, it's like, go feed the fucking horses. We're having a party here, John.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, no. He's just fighting.
Probably never even thought about it.
Yeah, and took all... If he
That's
had
just what you do.
Any sexual aggression, he's probably just beating the fuck out of a tree with his sword.
Well, also, the gold cloaks they don't take wives or father...
Really?
No. So like Jaime's not supposed to have a kid either. I mean that's why he joins the Gold Cloaks, because his dad's like, oh, you're going to be the Lord of Casterly Rock. You need to get married. And he was like, nah, I want Cersei, and
I just want to fuck people up and
fuck my sister,
smash my sister.
Yeah. So he goes into the Gold Cloaks because he can forfeit everything.
And his dad loves that.
Yeah, exactly. So Maester Aemon says that love is the death of beauty, and he says that the reason why the Night's Watch takes no wives and fathers no children is so they will not love. And he says, he asked John, he said, what would your father do if he had to choose between love and honor? And John says, well, he would choose honor.
No, he says he'd choose the right thing.
He'd choose the right thing, which would be honor.
Maybe.
For Ned.
Maybe.
Well, that's what they're implying.
Yeah.
And because Maester Aemon says, well, Lord Stark is a man in 10,000 and most of us are not so strong.
Yeah.
That's what he's implying, is that he chooses honor.
Got it.
And John realizes what's happening, and he says, oh, Sam told you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Maester Aemon says, we all do our duty. He said that we all do our duty when there's no cost for it, but sooner or later in every man's life, a day must come when he has to choose, and it's not an easy day. And John says, so this is my day, is what you're saying. And Maester Aemon says, well, it'll hurt. It'll hurt, but you need to make that choice. You need to stay here, and you need to know that your brother is making his own choice. And
did he say? I thought he just said you have to do it, and you got. Then you got to live with it.
That's what he's implying.
Yeah, but then you got to live with it.
Yeah.
So whichever decision.
Well, if you got to live with it. If you leave the watch, you die.
Yeah.
So your choice is to die if you don't choose to stay with the watch.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, it's a very easy choice, is what he's saying. And so he says. So John says, well, no one knows, and he says, I may be a bastard, but this is my father, and Rob is my brother, and He's like, no one understands the stress I'm under. And Maester Aemon says, well,
he's like, yeah, he kind of gets snippy at him. He's like, you don't know. And he's like, oh, okay, let me school
you real quick. And he says, well, my vows, he said, fate waited to test my vows until I was old. And he said, I was helpless, blind, and frail when my house started to fail. And he said, when I heard that they killed my brother and his 4 sons and the children, and he's like, all of the children. And that's when Jon's like, who are you? Because he's talking about his house failing. He's talking about
and this just happened
mass
like
genocide
18 years ago.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't know that that's, what he's referring to, but 18 years ago.
Ish.
So if Maester Aemon's, I know I exaggerate by saying he's 90 million years old, but say he's definitely close to 100.
Yeah, I would say, let's say he's like 95.
Yeah. So still like old, he's still old enough that there really was no option for him to do anything, even if he wasn't blind.
Oh, he can't do shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah.
So he said that his father was, I think it's Micah. Is that? I think it. He said the first of his name. He says, my brother reigned after him when I refused the throne, and then my brother's son took the throne after him. He said he's commonly referred to as the Mad King, and that's when it clicks to Jon.
Yep.
And he goes, "You're Aemon Targaryen."
Yep.
And Maester Aemon says, I will not tell you to stay or go. You'll make that choice yourself and live with it the rest of your days. And he turns to leave and he goes, as I have. So clearly, he stood aside while his family fell.
Yeah, but 2 totally different places. Because exactly like he said, he was old as dirt already and blind when he got the news. Jon's spry as shit.
But he's also saying we're in 2
bit.
total different places, but you also... We both took the same path.
Exactly. There's no way to go around it. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sucks. It's like it is the same as being in jail. Can you just do you even have the option to up and leave? You can't even get out.
No.
Here you can get out, but you're going to get murdered immediately.
Yeah, exactly. So we cut to Dany and Co. They're riding the cow's in front of her. Khal Drogo's in front of her on his horse. He's like wrapped in a blanket thing.
Yeah, he has like a blanket on and he's starting to slouch a little.
And so she's trying to talk to him, but he's non-responsive, and then eventually just falls from his horse. As he falls, or is she's running up to him, he's just saying my horse, and then no, I must ride, but pretty much anything after that is just gibberish. They can't understand what he's saying. Yeah,
and then like his like main man comes up and he's like doesn't really look that concerned. He's just like, well, he's can't ride. He's not shit.
Yeah, he says a cow who cannot ride is no cow. And she said that Dany says, no, he's just tired. We just need to make camp here for the night. And Home Dude says, a woman doesn't give commands, not even a Khaleesi. And Dany says, she sends that guy. She's like, hey, can you go get the witch? And he, like, of course, is like, no, we should kill her. Like, she's the one that did this to him.
Yeah.
And Dany says,
I'll bring you her head.
Yeah. And Dany says, you'll bring her to me unharmed. Like, I demand it.
Or I'll tell him once he wakes up.
Yeah.
Which is definitely going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let him know.
Yeah.
Tell your dad when he gets home.
Tell your dad when he gets home. So we go to the Lannister camp. Tywin and his men are holding like their war council or whatever. They're talking about the Stark host. It's moved south, and they said that they're just a day's march north from where the Lannisters are. Tyrion enters the tent. He just walks in, sits down immediately.
Grabs some bread and some turns, some wine.
Yeah. Tywin stops talking, and so Tyrion says, oh, do continue. I didn't mean to interrupt. And Tywin tells him that he hopes that the clansmen are worth all of the weapons and armor that they gave. And then one of the other guys is like, one of the men took 2 axes. And Tyrion says, Shagga likes axes.
Yeah.
And so then Tywin ruins Tyrion's day by telling them they're going to be in the vanguard on the front lines. And Tyrion says, he tells them the short thing about how they all the clansmen try to kill each other last night.
Yeah, like during like camp last night. Yeah. They're all trying to kill each other because they're super undisciplined.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's one of those sentences where I'm like, I can't even type all of that fast.
Yeah, and it's like basically Tyrion's like, you want us on the front lines, like as in these guys that have no organization, and then me leading them, kind of.
And Tywin says, I didn't get to write it down, but it's something like an army that's an army that is uncontrollable, it's because of the leader. Something like that. That's terribly worded, but it's about that. So that pisses Tyrion off.
And then Tyrion's like, there are better ways to get me killed. He's like, you don't have to
put me in the vanguard.
Yeah. You don't have to sacrifice this battle just to make sure I die.
Yeah. And that's when he basically loses his appetite because Tywin's like, well, that's what we're doing. We're trying to kill you.
Definitely want you to die.
Yeah.
So
Tyrion,
this will be an easy roundabout way to do it.
Yeah. So Tyrion throws the bread back on the table and walks out of the tent.
He lost his appetite.
Yeah. So then he walks into his tent and we see Shay
for the first time.
Yeah. And Bronn. Tyrion asked Bronn, he says, where did you find one so pretty at this hour? And Bronn says, I took her from Sir, what's his name? And he says, I don't know, ginger cunt, 3 doors
like,
down.
3 tens down. Yeah, ginger cunt.
Certifying why Bronn's the man. Tyrion,
you took her?
Took her? Tyrion tells him that, they're in the Vanguard tomorrow. And Bronn immediately is like, ooh, I need to go find someone myself.
Yep.
Yeah, so he leaves. Apologies. So Bronn leaves and Tyrion asks who Shay is. He's like, who are you? And she says, who do you want me to be? Or who would you like me to be? And then Tyrion goes, okay, what did your mother call you? And she says, Shay. And she says, what did your mother call you? And he said, well, my mother died giving birth to me. And then Shay, in kind of the shittiest way, is like, well, are we here to talk about our moms? And it's like, well, you're the one that's being a dick to him.
Well, I would assume that
it's witty banter.
Also she just like, I know why I'm here. Can we just get this shit over with? Yeah. I don't want to do the whole warm up thing. Holly's getting some macaroni and cheese. Prepared, so stand by.
I thought you were gonna talk long enough that I could do that.
I did. I told him I had given him the whole rundown on the macaroni and cheese. So, and now you're back.
Now I'm back. Because we have a much better setup than we used to. So anyway, she's clearly like, can we just fucking get this over with? And he says, your accent's interesting, and what's that? And she says she's foreign.
He's like, he kind of rolls his eyes like, okay.
Yeah. And she asks him what he wants from her. And he says, I want you to share my tent, pour my wine, laugh at my jokes, rub my sore muscles, and take no other men to bed while we're together. And finally, I want you to fuck me like it's my last night in the world.
'Cause it could be.
Yeah. And she says, well, what does she get in return? And I missed the first part. Was it the silks?
What he's telling what she's gonna get?
Yeah, I missed the very first thing he said. I'm pretty sure it's I think maybe it was safety then. He says, and then he says you'll get my company, which I hear is delightful. And then he says more gold than you could ever expect in 1,000 years. And he says, do you accept? And she takes off all her clothes, and
she's like, let's start with the last night you'll ever.
The last night in the world. In this world, yeah.
Your last night.
Yeah, so clearly
shows
she
us
accepts.
her sweet rack.
Yeah. Doesn't get all the way naked.
No.
For some reason. A little weird. But whatever.
She's classy lady.
Yeah, you're right. She probably just doesn't get a coin flicked at her and she just flashes people. Yeah. She probably wears underwear. Who knows? So we cut back to Khal Drogo and Dany. Cal is he's laying down. He's like in a tent now. In a tent. They've got like some sweating out of sickness.
They've got like some seaweed shit on his wound.
Yeah. He's not making any sense in his speak. He's clearly like
he's kind of mumbling. And
yeah.
It's like you're like talking in your sleep.
Yeah. Jorah enters. He's talking to Dany. She says he's very strong. She's talking about Khal Drogo, not Jorah. She says he's very strong. No one understands how strong he is.
Because, like, their thing is like, all right, he fell off his horse. Onward.
Yeah.
Like, we're all going to duke it out. We're going to get a new one and let's be out. And she's like, no.
He'll
like,
survive.
No one realizes that he's about to get up any day now. And it's like,
second.
yeah, they don't fucking care.
Yeah, that's not how it works here.
Done and done.
Yeah. So Jorah pulls out a knife.
Lifts the seaweed shit off.
And he looks at it. It's gotten
it's
even
all
worse.
Fucked up.
Yeah. And he goes,
he'll be dead.
He will die tonight, Khaleesi. And she says, no, he won't. I won't let him. And Jorah says, even a queen doesn't have that power. And Jorah says they need to go quickly. Like, they need to leave now.
Yeah,
before
right
he
now.
dies.
Because, like, once he's dead, you are worthless.
Yeah.
That,
well,
literally.
your life. Well, not only. Well, one, she's a Khaleesi, so she's supposed to go back to Vos Dothrak and live her life out there. And two, her son's life is in danger now.
Yeah.
So he says there's a port and a shy, and he doesn't get to finish that sentence. And she says, we won't leave. She won't run. Her son will be the new Khal. And Jorah says, that's not the way this works here.
They don't honor blood.
They don't honor blood.
They're going to pull that thing off your tit and feed it to the dogs.
Yeah. And so then that's when the Blood Rider comes in that clearly is the one that hates everything.
Yeah.
And he's still talking about wanting to kill the witch. And he says, you let the witch put her hands on our call, and that's why he is the way he is. And he's like basically yelling at Dany, and Jorah says, hey, you need to be respectful. And she's your Khaleesi. And he says, the Blood Rider says, only while the blood of my blood lives, when he dies, she is nothing.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, certifying that Dany is in a great amount of danger.
Definitely need to get out of here.
Yeah. So Dany gets pissed, though, because she's a little firecracker, and she says, I have never been nothing. I'm the blood of the dragon. And the Blood Rider comes back and says, well, the dragons are all dead, Khaleesi.
Yep.
What you gonna do? So then Dany says, she says that Jorah should wear his armor tonight, and she was like,
and he was like, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So then the witch woman says to Dany, she says, you've saved me once more. And Dany says, and you must save the call. I need you to save him. And the witch says, all I can do is ease his path. And Dany says, save him and I'll free you. I swear it. Save him and I'll free you. I swear it. And then she goes, you must know a way, some magic. And that's where the witch is like, oh, you said the magic word.
That's my shit.
Yeah. So she said, there is a spell she knows, but some say that death is cleaner. And Dany says, do it, save him, whatever the price. And the witch says, well, there is a price. And Dany said, well, whatever amount of gold.
Yeah, you can take all the gold.
And she's like, it's not the matter of gold, Khaleesi. It's blood magic. And she says, only death pays for life.
She's like, you got to kill me?
Yeah.
Do you think she was like, well, okay, just to keep him alive? I mean, what would be the point of that?
What do you
mean? Like, if she was like, yeah.
She would have said to kill. No, I don't think she would have done it.
You think she would have been like, oh, you know what? Never mind. I don't need to do that anymore.
Well, she
does look like he's about to die. We'll just run with it.
And she distracts him by saying, she distracts Dany by saying that, not your death, Khaleesi, in barely a beat. And then she goes, bring me his horse. So Dany thinks that the horse is the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And theoretically it is until Dany's brought back into the tent, and then the baby becomes the sacrifice. But it seems like I don't think she would have made that deal if it was like, oh yeah, your life, you gotta die.
Yep.
Yeah.
For shizzle.
So the horse, they're trying to bring it to the tent, but it's like bucking. It clearly doesn't want to go in.
Yeah, it can kind of sense.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait. They never let me in the tent. Why am I going in the tent? Why am I in the tent?
Yeah, and all the Dothraki people who are outside, just
they kind of know what's going on.
Yeah. None of them feel right about this because it's blood magic, which is not something that the Dothraki believe in. They are against witches and stuff like that. So everyone's like no one likes this situation. Definitely not the horse. The horse definitely doesn't like the situation. So they finally get the horse in the tent. The witch woman's like kind of talking to it to soothe it and like calm it down or whatever. And one of the other like Dothraki men who's in the tent says, "Do not do this thing. Let me kill the witch. This is blood magic. It's forbidden." And Dany says, "I'm your Khaleesi. I'll tell you what's forbidden."
Yeah, she has like red eyes right now.
Yeah.
Can't see, hear anything else.
Yeah. So the witch says, "Go now. Take her and leave." Talking to the Dothraki and the handmaiden. So they leave, and Dany stays there, and she goes, "No, you must leave too. You got to leave too. Like all you got to roll out." And she says, "The dead will dance in here tonight." The witch says that. And she says, "Once I start, no one must enter the tent." And Dany surveys the situation, thinks about it for a second, and then she says, "No one will enter." And that's when the witch is like, "All right, I'm starting this shit," and just slits the horse's throat.
Bang.
And all the blood goes onto...
And I wonder how they did that part, because it looks so real. The horse is really like convulsing and shit.
Yeah.
And, like, that looks so crazy.
Yeah, I know they didn't kill a horse, but like, come on, it really looks like it.
That's nuts.
It is crazy. So when she slits the horse's throat, all the blood goes onto Khal Drogo. Some of it splashes onto Dany, and then she leaves the tent and she walks outside and she's covered in blood, and all of the Dothraki are out there staring at her. And Jorah goes, "What have you done?"
Yeah, he like shows back up from putting his
all his armor
on, and he's like realizes what's happened.
Yeah,
that happened really fast,
really quick
while he was gone.
Yeah, and so Dany says, "I had to save him," and Jorah says, "We could have been 10 miles away by now." And that's when you could, you can, hear the woman chanting in the background and all this stuff. There's like noises.
There's Dementors in there.
Yeah, and that's when Blood Rider comes up and he goes, he's like, "She's a witch. I'm gonna kill her." And he
goes to go into the tent to kill the witch.
He
Jorah's
pushes.
like, whoa,
he pushes past Dany.
And, he shoves
her, and she falls. And she instantly, like, you could see, like, something's wrong with Dany. And then Jorah, he walks past Jorah and tries to walk into the tent, and that's when Jorah pulls his sword. They start to fight. This was one of those scenes where I'm like, they're fighting. I don't have anything to type right now.
Fighting, parentheses.
Yeah, parentheses. I can't remember what it's called, but the Dothraki weapon,
curved sword.
Yeah, when he gets it stuck in Jorah's like side armor, like he tries to.
They like scrap for a little bit, and then like he's clearly faster than Jorah, but Jorah's still like a trained fighter, so he can take care of himself. But like
he's fully armed.
He shows him the skills real quick, and he kind of slices his cheek a little bit. And he's like, "All right, bitch, I'll fucking take your whole head off next time." But then he goes to like hit him from the side, and like his shit gets stuck in Jorah's
like the armor
in the side, and then Jorah like hits him with like the blunt end of the sword, like the back of the handle, and like gashes his whole fucking face. It looks like it like breaks his jaw and like opens his cheek up at the same time. So I'm not really sure what went down there, but he really fucked that dude up, and I'm assuming he's dead.
Oh, he definitely is dead.
Okay.
Definitely dead. I'm not quite sure exactly what but it definitely slashed like his whole face open.
Yeah.
So Hongdu's dead.
The one that was always trying to start shit.
Yeah. I can't remember. I'm not sure if they name him or not, but I can't remember his name. But either way, number 2. It doesn't matter. He's dead now. So then Jorah runs over to Dany, and she goes, "The baby's coming," and they say, "Get the midwives," and they're like, "Oh, none of them will touch her because she's cursed."
And then Jorah's
he's
like,
"Well, the witch can bring the baby."
Well, first he's like, "Oh, I'll cut their heads off if they don't come." But then the nice Dothraki, such a nice boy, the one with the
young one,
with the short hair, clearly hasn't fucked anyone up yet.
Yeah. I think he's the one that Jorah is talking to about why knights wear armor.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting.
Oh, that's right.
To bring that back.
Yeah.
Where that guy's like, "Oh, well, all right, we had that conversation."
Exactly. I can see both sides.
Yeah.
But he says Shit, what does
He
say?
says the witch can bring the baby.
Oh, he's like, I heard her say that.
Yeah.
Like before.
Yeah.
So, and then they're like, well.
So Jorah takes Dany into the tent. And of course, she's like in the point of like, she's not really sure what's going on anymore either. So she can't tell them like, no, don't take me back in the tent.
Yeah.
And, you know, no one's supposed to enter the tent.
So they go back in there with the Dementors.
With the Dementors. So we cut to Tyrion and Shay. They're holding like
they have their
candle.
arms together. It's like a drinking game. They have their arms together.
Yeah.
Ooh,
like
together.
forearm.
Yeah, their forearms are like together.
And there's
a candle
lit
in
candle
between
them.
So the wax is kind of pouring on both of them, and it's like the game is the first one to like pull away.
Yeah, and so Tyrion finally pulls away. She's like, is my little lion, is my little lion hurt? And he said, well,
you don't feel pain.
You don't feel pain. She said she's immune to pain. She's used to it.
I'm used to it.
Yeah. So he says, well, let's play another game. And Bronn says, well, I have a Bravosi knife game that I can play.
Does it? And then Tyrion's like, does it involve like losing limbs or like something like that, or losing fingers?
And he's like,
not if you win.
Yeah. And so Tyrion's like, I don't want to do that. Let's play something I'm good at.
Yeah, no burning, no stabbing. Let's do something I'm good at.
So he says, I'm a great judge of character. Let's play a game where I'll make a statement, and if I'm right, you drink, and if I'm wrong, I'll drink.
Yeah, a statement about your past.
Yeah. So he goes, Shay says she doesn't want to play, so he's like, all right, well, I'll go with Bronze first. So, Bronze. I'll go with Bronze first. I'll go with Bronn first. So he says, your father beat you, and Bronn drinks, and then he goes, but my mother hit harder. So then Tyrion says, you killed your first man before you were 12. Bronn drinks, but he says it was a woman. And then Shay looks at him. And he goes, what? She swung an axe at me.
She swung an axe at me.
Yeah. So then Tyrion says, you've been north of the wall, which...
He drinks again, and she's like, why did you go there? And he's like, well, work.
Yeah.
Because he fucks people up for a living.
But it's very intriguing that Bronn has been north of the wall.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's probably been a whole lot of places.
Yeah, but north of the wall is very interesting. Not many people go up there unless you're in the Night's Watch. So anyway, just that, for the last season, I'm sure that'll have something to do with it.
Yeah, we'll see.
So anyway, Tyrion then says, you once loved a woman, but it turned out badly. And then he goes, oh, wait, that's me. And Tyrion drinks.
Yeah.
And so then he turns to Shay and he says, it's your turn. She says she doesn't want to play the game. And Tyrion goes, but it's fun. Look at all the fun we're having. So then he looks at her and he goes, your mother was a whore. And she says, drink. So he drinks. And then he goes, your father left the family when you were very young to never return. And she says, drink. And he says, did we go over the rules about lying?
Yeah.
And she tells him to drink. So he says, all right, well, you wanted a different life. You come from somewhere and wanted something else. Or you came from somewhere and want it elsewhere.
And Bronn's like, well, that could be pretty much every single human being.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, let me get a little more specific.
And he's like, all right, how would you get there? And she's like, drink. I'm not saying anything. I'm not answering anything. So he said something about like her mother and father. Oh no, I already went through those. Yeah. So she says she ends the game. She's like, I'm done. I'm not answering any of your questions. You've already failed so many times. And she says, don't talk about my mother and father ever, or I'll carve your eyes from your head. Tyrion apologizes for offending her. And she's like, I want to ask you a few questions. It's your turn. And so she says, who were you in love with? And he's like, that's not how the game works. And she's like, I
don't care how the game works.
Yeah.
This girl does not want to play any games.
Yeah. And so then Bronn says, well, Tyrion actually used to be married. And Tyrion goes, how did you know that? And Bronn says, well, you learn lots of things playing games with Lannister men.
Yeah.
And Shay says, well, tell us the story. And Tyrion says it's not a pleasant story and that he's not interested in telling it. And Bronn says, well, I think the lady and I could tell more unpleasant stories than your lordship. So Tyrion decides to tell him. So he says, when I was 16, my brother Jaime and I were riding. We heard a scream. And they found two men trying to basically rape a girl.
Well, this girl's running away, and then there's two guys on her heels. So Jaime, scares the guys away, and Tyrion takes this girl to an inn and like feeds her and
Tysha.
Takes care of her and shit.
Yeah. They have 3 chickens and a flagon of wine, which at that time Tyrion was not accustomed to drinking, and so they got a little drunk. And he said he was also afraid of speaking to girls, and the wine helped him forget about that as well.
Open up.
He said he forgot about everything but Tysha, and eventually he found himself in her bed. He said that she was good to him, that she kissed him afterwards and even sang him a song. He said by that morning he was deeply enough in love with her that he asked her for her hand in marriage. And he said, bing, bing, boom, drunken septon, man and wife.
Yep.
And he said, well,
bada
for
bing,
a
bada
fortnight, bada bing, bada boom, for a fortnight until my father, until the septon sobered up and told my father. And he's like, that's when my father had Jaime tell me the truth, which was that Jaime had arranged the whole thing. The girl was a whore, and that this was all a ruse because they thought it was time that Tyrion had a woman.
Yep.
So after that, Tysha was brought in and was paid a silver coin to have sex with each of the Lannister men. And Tyrion says that at the end of it, she had so many silver coins that they were rolling through her hands and falling on the floor.
So it's pretty much assumed that he watched, 40 dudes fuck his wife? Yeah. Or I guess it's all a sham, but
I'm pretty sure
woman that he was in love with?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the book, I think that's the number.
Yikes.
And again, in the show, I don't think they're going with this, but in the book, there's some question on whether she's alive or not.
Okay.
Like, it's like he's still questioned what happened to her after this.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. So it's like a whole thing that like eats Tyrion alive in the books.
Probably like let all these men have her and then like cut her throat.
Well, I think Tywin says that he sent her where whores go.
Ah.
Yeah. So Bronn says that he would kill the man that did that to him, and Shay says that Tyrion should have known she was a whore, that no girl who would have just almost gotten raped would have had sex with the man that night. And Tyrion says, well, I was young and stupid.
And drunk.
And she says, well, you're still young and stupid.
And then gets on his lap.
Yeah, and they start making out, and Bronn's like, well, I guess I'm supposed to leave now?
Bronn just looks on the other side of the room. He's just like, well, yeah, I'm going to go.
So it cuts to the next morning. The battle's beginning. Tyrion's still asleep with Shay.
Yeah, you see a bunch of Lannister men like rolling out of camp, and then you see Shay and Tyrion just kind of cuddled up.
Yeah,
looking very comfortable.
Very comfortable. I would have been the way he gets woken up. It would have been the worst. Bronn like kicks him.
No, he throws his
does he throw it?
ass like chest plate down. Okay. He just chucks it on the ground beside him, which is
that's why
like
I thought
30
he kicked
fucking
him.
pounds.
Yeah. Okay. So he's like, you're sleeping through the battle. And Tyrion gives him a look, and he's like, they stole the night's march on us. They're a mile north.
Yeah.
Get ready. And so Tyrion's like, send for my squire. And Bronn's like, you don't have a squire.
Have one.
So Tyrion asks Shay, he says, if I die, will you weep for me? And she says, you'll be dead. How will you know? And she just kind of falls back asleep.
Yeah. And he's like, I'll know.
Yeah. He's like, I'll know.
But I guess she would have had to help him get his armor on. You can't do it yourself.
No. So somehow he gets up and dressed and ready for battle. He walks out of the tent and he's almost ran over with a few horses.
Also, imagine just being hungover and going to work.
Oh my God.
Like that sucks ass.
Yeah.
Like having to tuck your stupid fucking khaki, your polo into your pants and like go to Target and stock shelves like when you're horribly hungover. But imagine having to wake up. You have this hot, naked chick with you. You're warm. You're hungover. And you just get like abruptly woken up. Here, put this heavy-ass, uncomfortable shit on and come out here and maybe die.
Yeah.
Right now.
No. I'd be like,
worst.
Will anyone notice me if I stay in the tent?
Exactly.
Shay, don't tell anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I don't. There's days when I'm like, if I just lay under this blanket, will people think...
Yeah. But you have those mornings where it's like, I think I'm just not going to go to work anymore.
Mm-hmm. I will just
fuck these bills. I'm going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off. I'll wait until the landlord is beating the door down or just like shows up beside the bed like Bronn and be like, hey,
Yeah.
Go.
And then I'm still gonna try to weaken Bernie's at like
For sure.
I'm
just
dead.
Just pretend like he's not there.
Yeah, exactly. So finally Braun catches up to him as they're walking towards the tribesmen like area, getting, ready to join the Vanguard. And Braun tells him to stay low.
He's like, stay low? He's like, that's you.
Braun says, if you're lucky, no one will notice you.
And then he says, well, I guess I was born lucky.
I was born lucky. So Tyrion rounds up the tribesmen. He gives them a speech about.
Yeah, very like.
This is yours. Take it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a C+ speech before war.
Yeah, but it
everybody starts shouting.
Half-man.
Shouting. They're shouting. No, everyone starts shouting half-man. And then that kind of like, you see it in Tyrion's face. He's like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, so they start walking to battle, and then Tyrion is knocked out.
This dude's like
hammer.
mallet hammer thing is just like, he's just running and it's swinging, but it's perfect eye level with Tyrion, and he like cracks his ass right in the head and just knocks him out, and then everybody's just stepping on him on their way out to war. Yeah,
so then we so that happens, and then we see it cuts to the battlefield of, obviously the battle is done, and Tyrion's being carted away. Bronn is beside him. He's wiping off blood off his sword, and Tyrion wakes up, and Bronn turns to him and says, "You're a shit warrior." And Tyrion says, "I'm alive." And Bronn says, "Yeah, you're alive." And then Tyrion says, "Did we win?" And Bronn says, "We wouldn't be having this conversation if we didn't."
Yeah, that's how war works.
Yeah. And then Tyrion asks how the tribesmen did, and they're still killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They seem to be working together
like,
pretty well.
At least they're getting along. And then Tyrion says, what happened, or Tywin walks. That's when Tywin comes up, and he says, "Yeah, there was 2,000 men here, not 20,000. They got it wrong."
Yeah, his other 18,000 are over there.
And so they're like, "Well, did you get the Stark boy?" And he was like, "No, the Stark boy wasn't here." And they're like, "Well, where was he?" And he was like, "With his other 18,000 men."
We've been bamboozled.
Yeah. Real quick, again, just touch on the book stuff. In the book, Tyrion actually is in the battle.
Oh, yeah?
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, he
doesn't get smacked by a giant wooden hammer?
No, it's not. He doesn't miss the whole thing. Yeah. Not that, like, that changes much, but, anyway. He does get battle. He does get a sense of battle, especially being in the Vanguard.
Well, he gets that later in the show.
That's true. And he's already killed someone when they were first attacked, when he was...
Yeah, I mean, he definitely knows how to do that.
Yeah, definitely. So we cut to Catelyn. She's waiting in the woods. Her dude's like, "We should probably go. It's been too long." She's like, "We need to wait." And that's when they finally see the Stark men coming back, Robb at the head, and they have a captive, which is Jaime.
Yep.
And so...
looking like perfectly like dirty, rugged, sexy. Like, oh, I've got perfectly placed like dirt on my face, and my hair is greasy and like just like right in front of my eyes, and I'm just so goddamn good looking.
She's so good looking.
Such a pretty dude.
Yeah. Oh, so pretty.
What's his real name? He's a really
Nicolette, I think.
Nicolette. Yeah, I remember he had a cool name.
He's I listened to him on I think it was The Nerdist. He's a very funny guy.
Oh, I'm sure he's the shit. Of course he is, because he's
from
beautiful.
like
so why wouldn't he be charming as fuck?
He's from like a village, like an actual village.
Yeah,
like,
that's where you get these like diamonds from.
Yeah.
It's like, we didn't know you were hiding over there, you gorgeous bastard.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure as soon as like they had the auditions, they were like, all right, the next guy, Nico, whatever. Oh, you're hired.
Yeah.
Did you see his jaw?
Yeah.
You could.
Did you see that jaw? He's like, he is
fucking steak.
Yeah, he is
with that jaw.
He's Prince Charming. Like
he is. He's a cartoon come to life. Him and Robb both.
Oh.
I mean, he. It sucks when you get them beside
Rob's
each other.
A little shorter.
For sure, and also he's way more rugged and sexier than Robb. But it's like Robb's like really good looking until you get on the same block with
Jaime.
With Jaime,
it's like,
shit, I'm kind of like a. This isn't looking so
good
now.
Yeah, it's like I'm a 10, I'm a 6.
I'm gonna go back north to where I'm a 10.
Yeah, I'm a 10 in the north. Let's just go back there.
Okay, enough Sexy men talk.
Yeah, I like it.
Back to the story.
Yeah. So Jamie says that, or Rob says that by the time the Lannister men knew what was happening, it had already happened. Obviously, they pulled a little bamboozle on them.
The old switcheroo.
And Jamie says to Catelyn, he says, well, I'd offer you my sword, but I've seemed to have lost it. And Catelyn says, it's not your sword I want. It's my daughter's and my husband. And Theon says, we should just kill Jamie. As always, Theon's like, let's just do this.
Theon is just like, he's like chomping at the bit for any situation. Yeah. Let's hit it right now.
Just do it now. Rob says that Jamie's way more important than that. Like, do you not understand?
Big player in this game.
Yeah, we need to keep him. So Jamie then is like, we can put all this to an end right now. I'm challenging you to a man-on-man combat.
Exactly. He's like, let me do what I always do, which, because one-on-one I could kill every soul here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So Rob says, if we do it your way, you'd win. And he says, we're not doing it your way.
Sorry, bitch.
Yeah. And he tells him to, chain him and take him.
You are now my pretty prisoner.
Yeah. So then Rob obviously is feeling bad about what he's done. And he said, I sent 2,000 men to their graves today. And Theon says, well, the Barbs will sing songs about them. And Rob says, yeah, but the dead won't hear them.
Yep.
And he says, so then like everyone's kind of like celebrating that they've had this victory.
Not like crazy, but everybody's like, yeah,
enough.
They're pretty up. And he's like, hey, you lost 2,000 of your guys today.
Yeah. And he said, did we free my father? Did we rescue my sisters? Have we freed the North? The war is far from over.
It's like buying a giant book and reading the first 2 chapters and then being like, yeah, fuck that book up.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, chill.
You've read 30 pages.
Yeah, we just got into this.
Yeah, exactly. So we got to King's Landing. Arya's trying to catch a pigeon. She's clearly hungry.
Yeah, and then she grabs it, and it's like, damn, this girl knows how to be cold-blooded. Like, she's like Aladdin already, and she's been on the streets for like a week.
Yeah.
She's like, pigeon, snapped his little bitch-ass neck. Like, I thought she was just going to take a bite out of it then and there.
Yeah, I was waiting for it the first time I watched
this
it.
This girl is nice on the streets.
She catches the pigeon. She does what you just said, but then she sees a guy who's like selling cakes and like baked goods, and she's
like little quiche.
Yeah, and she's like, can I have one of those? Because that looks way more delicious than this pigeon that I now have to go
shitty,
cook.
Disease infested bird.
Yeah. So she's like, will you trade me?
He's like 3 coppers.
And she's like, what about a fat pigeon?
What about this fat fucking bird?
And he tells her to piss off.
Piss off.
And
then she's like, do you have any stale ones, like shitty ones from yesterday?
Yeah.
Piss
off. But then the bells are ringing and everyone's like running past her, like they're all going towards the one area, and then this guy just walks off, which I don't know why she just wasn't like yoink. But then she's like, what's happening? And some little kid says they're taking him to the Sept of Baelor, and she says, who? And he says, the Hand of the King. And so
she drops her fat bird.
Yeah, and she walks off with everyone else. When she gets up to the Sept, she climbs up on the statue of Baelor to like be able to see over the crowd.
Yeah, she's like a head over everyone.
Yeah, and that's when Ned's brought out, and he's brought out. He's looking around. He sees the crowd, and then he of course sees Arya because she's on the statue.
On the fucking statue, and then she sees or he sees.
Well, they walk him through the crowd from where he is over to where like.
And why does it? Oh, well, never mind. That's a stupid question. Because it's like propaganda. It's like he's been painted as this like traitor by the. Yeah. So I was like, why do all these random people hate him? It's like he's done nothing directly to them, but I guess they're like, attention, everyone, this is the official announcement.
Well, ever since they took him captive. They've not referred to him as Lord Stark.
Yeah.
They've only called him the traitor.
I got you.
Ned Stark.
So like, again, they've.
Yeah, like you said, 100% propaganda.
Yeah.
And at this time, people were way more stupid than they are in 2018. Which
it's just crazy.
We could still have people that are this dumb here.
It's just weird that it's like you have this new king. He's a little spoiled baby. Mm-hmm. You're all like hardworking, working class people. Mm-hmm. And then you like rally behind his little bitch ass right away.
The king is where they get their food from.
That's true. I guess you can't bite the hand. Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Okay, so everyone hates Ned.
Yeah, so he's being
Ned.
So he's being walked from like where he came up from the Black Cells over to where
Sansa.
king and Sansa and
Sansa
Cersei
looks
and
so
all of
happy.
them.
She's like,
She
oh,
does.
I'm so glad that like.
Yeah. They're,
Well, she's just like, he's finally getting
well,
out
she
of
knows
there.
what's happening. She knows that. Well, she thinks that he's gonna.
Yeah. All right.
Be let go.
So he gets over there.
So when he's walking through the crowd, we're not there yet. Walking through the crowd, he passes urine.
Oh, I forgot about
The guy
that.
from the Night's
The
Watch.
guy that
is the like recruiter.
Yeah, the recruiter.
Yeah, from the Night's Watch. And he, of course, sees him, and all he says to him is Baelor. And Euron gives him a look, and he goes, Baelor. And he looks at the statue, and that's when Euron sees Arya and puts two and two together because Arya looks like Ned. So it's like, well, that's his child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and he's been to the house.
Yeah, he's been to the house.
To
he
be
knows.
like, oh, I'm recruiting people.
Yeah.
Do you have like people
Well, I
in
mean,
your...
but no one knows where she is. She's been missing.
Yeah.
She's dirty, but
I
he
got you.
knows who she is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a little weird that Euron would be like, oh, that's Arya Stark. But it, because it's not like
But
you
again,
have...
he's probably been to Winterfell
Well, that's what I'm saying.
a bunch of times.
He's closer to it, so he's very familiar with her. I've just heard that people question that part, and it's like, come on. I get that you don't know each other. Like, Tyrion wouldn't be like, oh, that's Arya because I've seen her once. But this guy has seen her multiple times. So anyway, as Ned's walking up, finally getting up to where Joffrey and all of them are, him and Littlefinger make eye contact. And it's like, Littlefinger's, of course, got his little smirky grin on. And everything basically goes silent as he walks up there. And Ned says, I'm Eddard Stark, Lord of Winterfell and Hand of the King.
And then runs down the whole bullshit thing of I did this and just giving in to everything that they want him to give
Yeah,
into.
he says,
I'm a traitor.
I betrayed
did
the faith
this.
of my king and the trust of my friend Robert. Before his blood was cold, I plotted to murder his son and seize the throne for myself.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Bunch of bullshit.
He then, the crowd starts yelling. He gets hit by like a rock.
Yeah, somebody throws a fucking rock at his
'cause
head.
They're an asshole. Then
Nice aim.
Yeah, Ned says, Joffrey Baratheon is the one true heir to the Iron Throne. And that's when Maester Pycelle walks up and he says, as we sin, so do we suffer. And he says, this man has confessed his crimes. The gods are just, but our beloved Baelor taught us that they can also be merciful. And he says, what is to be done with this traitor, your grace?
Mm-hmm.
And
crusty ass.
yeah, and so Joffrey says, my mother wishes that Ned is left to serve in the Night's Watch for the rest of his life. And he says, and my lady Sansa has begged mercy for her father.
And everybody looks happy and they're like, oh my goodness, this is finally going to come to an
Mm-hmm.
end. And everybody we can find a little bit of peace.
Yeah. But then Joffrey says, but they have the soft hearts of women, and treason should not go unpunished. And he says, Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
And then everybody, even Cersei's
losing her shit.
is like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
You are dumb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can't do anything because he's the king.
He's given the command. It's the royal command.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you're the one that created this monster.
Yeah. So everyone's freaking out. Lord Pycelle, I mean, Littlefinger. Look at everyone.
Varys is like running over there. He's like, wants to like, no,
Yeah.
like you were really, really, really fucking up.
Yeah. So that's when Euron grabs Arya. He tells her not to look. And he like kind of just pulls her down and like
when she's like
shields
yelling,
her.
and he's like, hush, or
Yeah.
like, shut up, girl. Because he also probably doesn't want her to be like, that's my dad.
Well,
and then a bunch of
because
people are gonna
she's
be like,
already freaking out.
so
yeah.
he's like hiding her and it's like trying to like save her from the
seeing,
situation, from seeing it and from being like, because they'd probably
being
grab
caught.
her ass.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what they want. They
Yeah.
want Arya.
So he's like, you need to shut up and
just be here.
right here.
And so that's happening. And then Sansa's up there and she's just
Losing it.
She's just yelling, "Stop it!" I mean, like hysterics. And that's when it turns to Ned, and Ned.
He's
It's
just
kind of
kinda
everything
taking it
kind of
all
goes
in,
silently.
and he's
He
just like-
takes it all in.
Because he knows he's about to die.
He realizes what's happened. He looks up at the Baelor to see if Arya is still up there. She's gone. So he's like, well, I hope Euron got her. He's realizing his fate, and all he does is hang his head.
When it's us, it's just like, oh, thanks for making me look like an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they fucked
well,
him.
they did
royally fucked
what
him.
he
His one
said was, I'd rather die than look like a traitor.
And they made him do
and
both.
they made him do both. Joffrey made him do both. They didn't make him. Joffrey made him.
Ultimately
Yeah.
fucked him.
So he hangs his head. Sir Ilyn swings the sword, and
then doves fly.
yeah, when doves fly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
You and I engage in a kiss. Yep. That was really fucked up,
Yeah.
but a really good episode.
So good.
Hope you guys are watching along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, we're going kind of slow. I guess it sucks if you're watching along. It's like, okay, ready to watch that next episode, assholes. Like, put it out.
Well, after Christmas, it'll be much easier for us to get this done. Because
Yeah, we'll be throwing the episodes out.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we have to. We have no choice.
Yeah, and it'll just get cold and darker and more snowy around here. So we'll be able to hopefully do multiple episodes.
Woo!
So that's it.
All right.
So Ned is done.
Ned's done. Done and done.
And again, the first time you watch this is where it's like, hold on. Sean Bean's the only name I knew.
Yep.
And he's dead. And I thought this was about him. And what the fuck?
006 is dead. Whatever his character's name in Lord of the Rings is dead.
I don't remember his name. It's something Bron.
No, not gonna work here anymore.
Oh, it's so bad that I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan too. I just thinking of it. Shit, nah.
I believe you get your ass kicked for saying something like that. Yeah, I'm hanging the drywall down there at the new McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay. Off of GOT.
Not the new McDonald's, the new 7-Eleven, right? Because that's all we get in this town.
Hey, Rick. Yeah, you right. 7-Eleven gas stations.
Yeah.
Well, folks, hope you like that one.
Yeah.
Even though he got his head cut off.
Yeah.
But we're moving along.
Well, he got his head cut off, so now the Game of Thrones is actually getting played.
Yeah, shit has seriously popped off.
Yep.
It's also funny because you always have like Varys and Cersei, and everybody's kind of like slowly moving their pieces into place, and Joffrey just came by and went boom, fucking it's like you got a 4-hour game of Monopoly going on, and he comes through,
just flips the board,
and just Steve Austin's the fucking board.
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, thanks for that.
There you go. What's your next move now, bitch?
Yeah.
I just threw the fattest wrench into your game. Yeah.
Which is, I'm assuming when he makes that choice, that's when Littlefinger and Varys are like, well, he's got to die now.
Oh, for shizzle.
Yeah, so.
Well, folks, I don't know when you're going to listen to this, but it's Christmas Eve, and tomorrow is Christmas. So I hope you have a fucking awesome Christmas. Super good holiday. Be safe traveling. And listen to our other podcast, Murd Up.
Yes.
MurdUpPodcast.com. We just put out a Christmas episode yesterday.
Yeah. The one with the Christmas killings. Because, everyone else is having delightful Christmas episodes, but we're
and we
bombing ourselves out.
We like to bring you right down.
Yeah, so if you want to feel bad on Christmas, listen to that one.
Alrighty. Until the next one.
Hopefully soon.
Stay up. Stay clean. Stay focused. Yoo-hoo with a little rum in it. Peace out, y'all.
Bye.